Hello everyone, and welcome to Electability Check. I'm Jesse Austin, and I'll be your host this evening. On this program today, we'll be comparing footage from the Bernie and Biden campaigns side by side in a fair and balanced effort to uncover who is the most electable in the 2020 Democratic primary. Under each candidate's feet is a bar for their electability points, which will move up or down whenever we see or hear something cool or whack, respectively. Before we jump into it, I'd like to take a moment to thank our two sponsors, Antifascistic Action and the Black Panther Party. Thank you all for joining us. Without further ado, we'll be starting with Joe Biden's Illinois virtual town hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I told him, I was like, this doesn't work out. I may pop up one weekend and pop up and I'm going to just call it this. I don't want to hear anybody.
I don't want to hear anyone. I don't want to see anyone.
Well, I'm here if you want to stay away with great.
Right.
Walking town and speaking on the computer.
What? Oh, yes.
Stand by. Ladies and gentlemen, Senator Dick Durbin.
Town hall. And I just want to tell you, Joe, in the last 2 weeks, you've made history in presidential politics in America. And you're going to make it again come this St. Patrick's Day in the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. And we're going to give you a chance to lead our nation. So when St. Patrick's Day comes around, I'm going to be casting my vote for President Joe Biden. And this young lady here, who is Josephine, who we call Joe, I'm casting my vote for her too, because your leadership, Joe, is what's going to make her life better for years to come. Wish you the best, Joe. Have a great town meeting.
I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about the lessons that we can learn long-term about what we are experiencing today. As I discussed yesterday, our country is facing, as everybody knows, a medical and economic crisis, the likes of which we have not seen for generations. And we must prepare for this response in an unprecedented way, making certain that our government responds effectively and protects the interest of all of our people, regardless of their income or where they live. In other words, this is not just about giving tax breaks to large corporations, but it is about remembering the people today who do not have much money, who are very nervous about their economic futures and about their healthcare prospects. Needless to say, we must massively increase the availability of test kits for the coronavirus and the speed in which those tests are processed. We need to anticipate significant increases in hospital admissions, which means that we will need more ICU units and ventilators. We will need more doctors, more nurses, and medical personnel of all kinds. And we must make sure that these frontline personnel are well protected from the diseases they are treating. I have talked to nurses recently who worry very much about whether they're getting the kind of knowledge they need and the equipment they need to make sure that they do not get sick. We need to significantly improve our communications and collaboration with other countries to assure that we are learning everything that we can about the successes and failures other countries are encountering as they deal with this crisis. And furthermore, we must be honest with the American people and communicate as effectively and directly as we can with all of the scientific information that we can provide. Further, and perhaps most importantly, our response to this entire crisis must be guided by the decisions of doctors, scientists, and researchers, not politicians. But as we struggle with this crisis, it is also important that we learn the lessons of how we got to where we are today and what we must do in the future so that we are better prepared for similar crises that may come. Poll after poll already shows us that the American people understand that we must do what every other major country on earth does, and that is to guarantee health care to all of our people as a human right, not a privilege. As we begin to see the failures and vulnerabilities of the current healthcare system, my guess is that those numbers and the demand for universal health care will only go up.
Test 1 2 test.
Okay, good. It's coming in. Okay, it's coming. Slide.
I'm sorry for this technical difficulty for all those folks on the line. Guys, everybody's fortunate to have such incredible senators like President Tammy Duckworth and Dick. And I want to thank you for joining us today, and I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Look, technical difficulties. The first thing to say, I know that just my thoughts now in every state coronavirus, as well as our healthcare providers, are putting themselves in the line to try to help people. Yesterday, I had an opportunity, but the fact is that it's often difficult to conclude that we
sure long-term. My teeth and my usually people back to me will back to me, and I hope they do the same thing.
Good. Let's stay here, sir. Just gonna pick up your audio.
We are going to take a question right now.
This has to do with the current health crisis we're in, and how would your health plan deal with this current health crisis that we're all facing right now? What would be the advantages of your health plan versus what we have now, given, I believe there are a number of people who feel very insecure about their health care right now. So I was just wondering how the plan that you proposed would be dealing with this issue right now.
Dan, it would cover all the costs that would be associated with the loss of that you would have, in fact, any doctor's bill you have, any bill, a hospital bill, it would be covered. But here's the main thing. I can get it done quickly, and people would be covered. But even I can't do that for another a year between now and November, or actually January. But to be covered.
We're going to take one more question from Marie Perkins.
Good evening, Mr. President, and that has such a nice ring to it.
Thank you, Marie.
My question to you is, do you support the Endangered Species Act, and will you prohibit animals from being hunted and brought into this country for trophies?
Yes and yes.
Oh, I love you.
But look, I want to say something beyond that. One of the things that I did early on in my career as a U.S. Senator was I was one of the sponsors of the Endangered Species Act. And one of the other things we've done is we, in the state of Delaware, for example, set up the coastal zone legislation, which means that they can't build any factories or anything within 1 mile of the estuary of the Delaware River and the Atlantic Ocean and the Chesapeake. And so the whole point of this is that we can do a lot to deal with endangered species. And one of the things I would like to raise is that we have to deal with this on an international basis as well. Because right now, for example, we have a thing, Brazil has the Amazon is burning because they're trying to clear the Amazon in order to make money in agriculture.
Well, I think that just about wraps it up, everybody. Electability Check has determined Bernie Sanders to be the most electable candidate for the 2020 Democratic primary.